Welcome to the Geek Easy, fellow geeks. Let's pop open a beverage of your choice. Because today, or this time, I have the wonderful opportunity to do a review of Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 4K. I pretty much popped it in the player right after I did my unboxing, watched it, and I had to take a few minutes to think about the movie after I got done, because there was a whole jumble of thoughts that I had. I'm going to be throwing some stuff in here that might be considered partial spoilers, so kind of be careful. This movie was pretty much Crisis on Infinite Earths in name only, really, because the story included Crisis as, at least as far as I looked at it, as kind of an afterthought. I don't really know what they were trying to, okay, there was elements to the story, the antimatter wave coming through and destroying all these, the multiverse and all this stuff. But it is so far astray from what the story was. Basically, this is first and foremost a Flash story, because Flash is the central character. Barry Allen is the central character of the story. Okay, for a movie, something like this, animated or otherwise, you need a point of view, and okay, so they're showing this through Barry's eyes, and you've got him kind of running, and he's going through different time periods and different Earths. You don't really see why he's doing it. It's like the formation of the Justice League, which is Flash, Superman, Batman, Vixen, John Jones, and Hal Jordan. And it's brought about by fighting Adapto, I think his name is, which has nothing to do with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Nothing. Neither does the formation of the Justice League. And then you have him, his meeting Iris for the first time, their marriage, and all this. And so, you've got this, which, that's like the first over half of the movie. During that time, they do introduce the wave coming through. But that is during a time when they are on the crime syndicate planet. That's not doing any spoilers because they're in the trailer. But that part right there is another problem I had. Is they are introducing characters and situations that have nothing to do with the plot. Okay? The crime syndicate. They make no impact whatsoever on the fight of the against the wave. There's absolutely no reason for them to be in this movie other than to say, hey, we have the crime syndicate. So you're wasting all this time with him interacting with them only to have no value to the story. They're leaving out key elements to the story. Like there's the Monitor, but the Monitor in this one is the Monitor in name only. The way he describes himself and the way he acts is pretty much more like a Watcher from Marvel. Because he's like, yeah, me and my race, we watch these, watch stuff going on from the beginning of the universe, and we're prohibited from interfering. I'm breaking vows of non-interference to do this because I feel an imperative, moral imperative to do something about it. It's like, dude, that's Uatu. That's not a Monitor. There's no mention of the Anti-Monitor. There is Harbinger, but they do a reveal on who Harbinger is, and that is, don't even get me started on that. I'm not gonna give you who they say Harbinger is in this version, but no. Did I say no? No. And so when they finally get the characters set up into the Monitor's place, you see all these characters. They introduce characters that have nothing to do with the original thing, like Huntress. She wasn't an important part or a part at all of the original story. You have Dick Grayson, but Dick Grayson, he's an older Robin. He's supposedly about the same age as Batman. This Batman didn't know him because he had never, included him in there. Wonder Woman is from another Earth. You have the Peter David Aquaman there. The one with the hook. He wasn't part of the original. He wasn't even on the Earth of the team that's being followed. And so, you're just like, dude. And it's just kind of a jumbled mess. It's like they're trying to put all the stuff in there. So they introduce, characters and or plot lines that didn't have anything to do with the characters didn't have anything to do with the original story. The plot lines they introduce, and when you get to the conclusion of those movies, the movie, even though there's a part one, that part of the plot point should have been concluded, but wasn't. Okay, because it gets to a certain point, and these things should have been wrapped up, or even brought back up before the end of it, and then they didn't. Like, okay, this is a bit of a spoiler, so pause here if you don't want to hear it. They set up two teams. Or once they get everything going for the crisis part, they have the scientists and the geniuses. You have the new Dr. Light, Mr. Terrific, all the geniuses to do the theoretical stuff, and then you're going to have the muscle to do the fighting, right? Because they need to figure out a way to stop it and then implement things. Right now, in this story, the only thing that was the threat was a big wall of antimatter. So you're going to get a bunch of people there was no physical things to fight other than the antimatter thing. So you're just going to get a bunch of people to fight that, and then you hear about the scene, but then you never see them in action afterwards. And then they waste a little bunch of, like 3 or 4 minutes of Flash. He went and got him some coffee, and so they spent a little bit of time talking about how great the coffee was, even though they didn't like it. Again, waste all this time for nothing that had nothing to do with the story. So it was just kind of a jumbled mess. I don't know what they're trying to do with this story, because it didn't have a lot to do with, much to do with Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was more of telling Barry's story from when he met Iris to near the end. And of course they have the famous scene of him running to his demise. But that's not even how it happened in the story. And then where they leave off for the part 2, the second part of the story will have nothing to do with Crisis. Because unless they somehow bring it back around again, has nothing to do with the original Crisis part. So I don't know. So that's just some of the plot points, the plot on that there were issues with. And then the art was just not good. It could work if you're trying to do a comic, but you're doing an animated movie, and it's not good. And so the whole movie was just kind of a jumbled rush of stuff and mishmash of things that will either finally come together at the end, at the end of part 2 or 3, depending on how many. I've heard there's 3 parts or 2 parts, I don't know. But at the end, or they're not. And judging from the way things are right now, it's probably going to be not. But, I don't know, I wasn't too pleased with this movie. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. And just say, unless you are a completist or somebody who has to see everything that comes out on this, don't bother. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of it. If you saw it, let me know if you think that I'm wrong. And like, subscribe, most of all, enjoy your comics.